Jobless Reincarnation's back for season 2, and it's alright I guess. I'm still kinda burned on how much I hated the last few episodes of season 1, and while the first few episodes of Jobless season 2 are definitely a step up from the good arc that closed out the last season, I would like to shine a light on Rifujin Magonote's other officially published and serialized work, a work that I enjoy way more than Jobless Reincarnation, Orc Eiyuu Monogatari, Sontaku Retsuden, or its English name, Orc Hero Story, Discovery Chronicles. Orc Hero Story follows Bash, an orcish warrior who has earned the title of hero, a title that's only given to the strongest orc alive. During the recent Grand War against the alliance of 4 races, he crushed and defeated all that stood in his path, and is now respected by all orcs as an orc among orcs. However, Bash has a secret: he's a virgin. For orcs who hold combat and sexual prowess in high regards, being a virgin is tremendously shameful, and with this in mind, Bash decides to embark on a journey in order to protect the pride of his people and the honor of his race, but most importantly, to finally bang. A grand quest to find himself a wife. While the basic synopsis is quite juvenile and stupid in nature, this is the author of Jobless Reincarnation we're talking about. He has been subscribed to the Rand school of making things horny, but also super detailed because you actually love your product and give it soul. The fantasy world that we see in Orc Hero Story is in reformation after a serious 50-year-long war that only brought suffering, and the orcish tribes are facing huge social reforms. We get to see what it's like for an essentially hentai race of orcs to perform into a sensible society, as they are forced to modernize as part of the unconditional surrender terms. We get to experience the cultural whiplash that basic concepts like consent have on these monsters in their new post-war life. However, it's not all completely deep and pretentious. Orc Hero Story is actually more comedic than anything. There's a lot of great jokes thrown about that I found really funny. Like if an orc reaches the age of 30 while a virgin, he literally becomes a wizard. There are only 2 chapters of the manga translated so far, 3 if you count the prologue, and you should definitely read the prologue as it goes over some of the backstory of the world, like how there are 12 races in this world and that the 50-year-long war was between 2 factions, the alliance of 4 races and Demon King Gigadus' forces. The chapter ends with Bash leaving the orcish society to find a wife. Chapter 1 introduces us to Bash's old partner from the war, Zelda Bader, as he finds her in a carriage that he rescues from bugbears. In this chapter we get to learn a bit more about orcish society and how they are vastly different from humans. This leads to a bit of fun culture shock humor. However, the chapter ends with Bash being questioned by the guards as the people in the carriage that he saved thought that he was threatening them. In chapter 2 we meet Judith, the main female guard questioning Bash and the first real candidate for a wife. After learning a bit more about human prejudice, Bash is brought into the dungeon to be interrogated further. In there we meet Houston, a war vet who fought for the Alliance and is the only human that we met so far that isn't super prejudiced against orcs. We also get to learn a bit about how scary Bash really was during the war from Houston's reaction to seeing him for the first time. After everything is settled, Bash is freed as he literally did nothing wrong, and the first member of our party joins, as Judith is ordered to accompany Bash on his mission as a sign of good faith between the humans and orcs. Of the characters that we have met, 3 out of 4 of them have been very enjoyable to experience. Bash is a naive, dumb strongman, but he's also struggling to break free from his orcish culture when it comes to courtship and relationships, and he's trying to integrate himself in this new society without completely losing his orcish roots. Cell is the best friend character, nothing too deep with her as she is mostly just there to play the role of educating Bash on how society works. I do find it kind of interesting that she automatically removes herself from the potential wife pool however. I think this will probably be the last time we see Houston to any major degree, but man, he's my favorite character that we have met so far. He killed more orcs than anyone else during the war, but he also learned about their different societal views and way of life, and develop an admiration or respect towards them. This causes him to develop a sense of pride when dealing with orcs and leads to a lot of miscommunications when trying to make amends with Bash for his unlawful arrest. But it all was because he was trying to do the best he can to accommodate Bash. Yes, he misses a few things about Bash and his journey outside of the orcish world, but he's a real bro for actually trying and not completely breaking down in fear. And finally we have Judith, whose only character traits that she's a racist. To be fair, the racism is kind of justified as she grew up in a world where orcs equals rapists, murderous monsters, and the orcs actually did earn that title and treatment due to their actions in the war that ended just 2 years ago. It's really obvious that she's gonna be a tsundere or something in a couple of chapters. Or maybe they just surprise us and have her never grow and just keep her as a character that literally hates the main character. Also, Asanagi did do the original art, and Judith is really clearly his embodiment of the loss of dominance tag. Speaking of the art, the light novel's art is gorgeous. Be humor or not, Asanagi's art and signature design style leads to a very distinct and memorable look. Green Guts and Asanagi's hentai really stands out in the seas of same faces that litter the light novel scene. No light novel copy-paste Kirito can be found. Although, as a person of culture, it does make me slightly uncomfortable looking at some of the volume covers because they really do look like a lot of Asanagi's other works. Also, if I piqued your interest in the artist's adult works, I wouldn't really recommend them if you're not deep into degeneracy, as some of his works are very not safe for life. The manga art was done by Shibakaro Shibata, known for his work previously in a corpse party manga that I don't think was that popular. There was no way Asanagi was gonna draw for a monthly shonen manga, but hey, at least the manga artist is trying to mimic Asanagi's distinct style. We do get varying degrees of how good he mimics the style, from images that I would blindly say were drawn by Asanagi, to some only having the distinct eyelashes as the only resemblance to Asanagi's art. Overall, I really love Orc Hero Story and I want others to experience it too. If you're a fan of Jobless Reincarnation, you'll love the author's other work. It takes a lot of the fantasy aspects of Jobless and subtracts the isekai element, one of the most unnecessary and weakest part of the story in my opinion. It focuses more on the world and the cultures of the people that live in it, which to me is the whole reason to watch Jobless and not overlook it. It actually baffles me that literally nobody is talking about Orc Hero Story. It's funny, it has a nice change of pace art style, and it follows a really interesting story. My plot summary from before doesn't do the series enough justice, so if anything here interested you, go read Orc Hero Story.